Ladies and gentlemen, Ibrahim, today's December 18th, 2023. Quick catch up here. This is where I have to take this opportunity again to speak to the international partners, to talk to the international community about what is actually happening in Sierra Leone right now. For years, we've been warning, about the fact that what we've seen is continuous tribalization of our institutions in Sierra Leone, but nothing, has been done about that, and nothing seems to be done. Nobody seems to be doing anything about, the perception of what citizens have been concerned about, especially since 2018. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to call on the international partners again. Because Sierra Leone, as it is today, is sharply, very, very sharply divided. And one thing we are quick to do is to all of us come out and condemn. Oh, we don't want no tribalism. I'm good at that too. Yes, we don't want nothing that has to do with tribalism. I mean, we've seen precedents, right? We've seen what happened in Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis. We saw within a 4-month period, almost 1 million people lost their lives senselessly.
25 years ago, over the course of just 100 days, about 800,000 people were slaughtered in Rwanda by ethnic Hutu extremists.
And so these are some of the things that we've been saying and we've been asking for years, calling for the investigation of what people seem to see as a semblance of tribalism being practiced across the governance structure in Sierra Leone. They were quick to tell you that, we have one or twosies of the opposition members working for, the press secretary, the spokesman to the president is from this northern part of the country, and this and that and all that stuff. Tribalism, for those that are preaching it out, and it's not a good thing, and for those that are acting it out, it's not a good thing. And it's worse when you're acting it out, because just because you don't say, I'm in support of tribalism, does not mean your actions does not reflect being tribal. So that is what is happening in Sierra Leone today. So what I want to do, first of all, is to just make this very clear. Like a retired sergeant of the Sierra Leone Army, retired Amadou Koita, would say in his audios when he used to address, the people of Sierra Leone, or talk to, the discrepancies that has been going on within, the services, the military, the police, it would always use this adage, and to say, when you fall down, don't watch, where you fell. That should not be your focus. You want to be sure to find out what caused the fall in the first place. And that is what we've not been doing in Sierra Leone. We don't look at what caused us to fall, what caused us to trip, right? It could be a stone that is in the way that shouldn't be there. So, you tripped on the stone and you fell down. What we do is we pay attention to where we fell. And that is what we're doing today. We're only paying attention to where we fell. So everybody's coming now. November 26th was this school, was this school, was this school. Everybody's focused on that, and nobody's focused on if there are coups across West Africa, what is the cause of these coups? If that is the case in Sierra Leone, we don't know. The government is investigating, right? But these are the things that we're saying. It's about time we pay attention to where we came from. And Sierra Leone has a very long history, especially when it comes to this SLPP government in power and folks that have been SLPP leaders, going back all the way from Milton Magai. It belonged to the SLPP as a political party. I want the international partners to listen to this. I mean, these are some of the things that you might not read from history books because, nobody has taken the time to write down, these historical facts. When you take Sir Milton Magai, he was the first Prime Minister of Sierra Leone when we had independence. He's from the SLPP political party. Who succeeded Albert Milton Magai when he died? His younger brother, Albert Magai, same SLPP. How did we get into a one-party state system? Same, Albert Magai, SLPP. How did we have affirmative action? Where this guy gave a particular tribe, the Mendes, so much right in government. Over the years there. In the early '60s, from '64 all the way to '67. We saw the tribalization of our institutions. Who did that? Albert Magai. It belonged to the SLPP party. So it is the SLPP. When you look at what is actually happening in Sierra Leone, going back all the way there, they've been the same political party that has been pushing these tribal acts. And today, what is happening is, let us look at where we tripped, not just pay attention to where we fell. That is what is happening. So I'm calling on the international partners again to pay attention to Sierra Leone. The rhetoric is very, very intense. There's been a lot of calls and, folks talking about dividing the country and even exterminating a whole set of people from the southeastern part of the country because they believe they're the problems in Sierra Leone. These are the kind of rhetorics that is currently going on when you listen to social media attentively. So yes, we are calling to condemn any act of tribalism. We want to condemn it. Let's start with the government. Let's start with the actions of the government. Last I checked, there are about 179 MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies in Sierra Leone. Of the 179, 166 was headed by people from the same tribe, same region. And I want to take you guys back to, the TRC report, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report, which stated that we shouldn't have more than 30% of one, a tribe in our governance system. More than 30%. But you look at Sierra Leone today, and again, these are statistical facts that I'm giving to the international partners. Go check. So yes, in as much as we're quick to condemn tribalism, we don't want tribalism in our nation. It's such a beautiful small country. Everybody should be able to live, with each other, amicably and in peace. But the actions of the governments needs to be checked. Because for you to solve a problem, you have to get down to the bottom and the root cause of that problem. So when I hear the rhetoric, I'm not just focused on the rhetoric of, let's exterminate these people. Let's get rid of these Southeasterners. They're the trouble in our country. That is a problem in itself. It sounds very awful. We don't want that, right? But at the same time, let's check what is causing people to speak like this. Let us ask these fundamental questions. Why are people speaking like this? It's very crucial. It's very important. If we don't ask these questions and provide answers, there is no way we can get down to the bottom of what is happening in Sierra Leone. So let me go back. Let me backtrack a little bit. Like I was saying, in the 60s, the Milton Magai, right? The Albert Magai came. And then we had Shaker Stevens. Who was the champion? Who was the catalyst behind the one-party state system that allowed President Shaker Stevens to remain in power for over 24 years? It was the same SLPP, this government in power today. Their same, forefathers were the ones who tried to implement the one-party state system, but failed at doing so. So what happened? When Shaker Stevens came and took power, he said, okay, I'm going to teach these guys how to get this stuff done. And that's how he stayed in power for over 24 years. What happened? 1991, we heard from Charles Taylor's, special court prosecution. When he called, he said, hey, the only person that I know that started the revolution in Sierra Leone was a guy called Ali Kaba. He says, I don't know why Ali Kaba is not coming here to testify. But that's how we had the brutal rebel war. Again, these are SLPP folks that started the brutal rebel war. So when you look at what is happening in Sierra Leone, over the years, what is beginning to take hold, which is very sad, but it's the fact that with the advent of social media, and anybody can just take a phone and be able to use it and say what they want to say, share their point of view about what is actually happening. It is that people are beginning to understand and see that, it looks like these folks are the problem in our country. I'm not saying they are the problems. I'm giving you what people are thinking, what Sierra Leoneans are thinking now. Now they're listening to all of these divergent points of views, right? Different points of views. They are saying these guys are the problems in our nation. If these guys were not here, first of all, we wouldn't have a one-party state system that lasted for 24 plus years. We wouldn't have had the brutal rebel war in the first place. Again, you look at these folks. Who are the Kamajos? These are all Southeasterners from one tribe, right? The Mendes. So people are saying, these guys are the problems in our society. And then you contrast that. Come back to today, what is actually happening. Let's go back for the past 5 years since this SLPP government took power. I want the international partners to pay attention to this, because what I'm doing here is to ensure that we stop and prevent any genocide in that nation. But for us to get to understand what the problem is, we have to call out these basic facts and these fundamental truths, right? We have to speak this. But you're going to have these guys, they never want to have a conversation. In their eyes, everything they do is correct. Nobody else can come and open up their eyes to a certain angle that they've not seen. So they don't want to have these conversations. But these are the real conversations that should be heard, right? So let's have this conversation today. For the American ambassador, Ms. Lisa Chess, the European Union, I want you guys to understand these things, right? We have to come to, if we have to understand, or if we have to come to a place where we can solve these underlying problems, especially with the rhetoric going on around today about the level of tribalism and the division that is in the country, with, you know, the what people deem now as harassment of opposition members, you know, constantly. Let us look back since 2018. These are the arguments that people are putting up on social media. I want to paint this picture for the international communities. They say, hey, listen, since this government came to power, only folks that have been suffering, that have been killed, that have been massacred are people from the northwestern part of the country. Don't forget, in Sierra Leone, we have about 16, 17 ethnic groups, right? But predominantly what you'd hear is the Timinis, you'd hear the Fulas, the Mendes, you'd hear the Sosos, the Mandingos, you know, the Limbas, the Locos, you know, Yalunkas, you know, all of these people. You have some Gizis, some Vais, you know, Creole people, of course. So these are all of these people, one way or the other, majority of them, they feel like they've been on the wrong side of this government. Again, it's a democracy. They feel like when they speak up about what is actually affecting their lives, this government always finds a way, you know, to come after them. So when you look at the killings that has occurred in Sierra Leone, again, so the international partners, pay attention to this, you know, find these facts, right? So it's not just paying attention to, oh, this tribalism, everybody's saying, let's divide the country, let's this, let's that. That's not what we're saying. We want you to pay attention to the root cause of the problem. Sierra Leone has to get to that point where we can identify the root cause of the problems that we have in our society for us to solve it. That is what conflict management teaches us, right? You just don't get to the problem and say, oh, this is what is happening now. No, you have to get to the root cause, understand what prompts the actions of people. Why did people get to this place today? How did they get there? If you don't know the how, there is no way you can get the why. You know, the how is the first thing that needs to be determined. And that is what we have to unravel. So when you look at what happened in McKinney, when the people protested for a generator, they said, no, you are not going to take a generator. They were killed, massacred in McKinney. These are Northwesterners, right? You go to Kono, the same thing happened in Kono. They went to get a generator, and the Kono people resisted. Nobody was killed. Why? They say, oh, because Kono is in the southeastern part of the country. You understand? So Ambassador Hunt, Miss Lisa Chesney, Ambassador Mula, you know, President Joe Biden, the State's Department, because I know you guys listen to all of this. I just want you guys to see where we've come from and where Sierra Leone is heading today. So when you hear the noise, I'm not paying attention to the noise. I'm paying attention to the signals, right? You know, the talk about tribalism and dividing the country and this and that. Let us go down to the bottom of what causes people to think like this now. Why are people acting like this? Let us see what has happened to, you know, the people in Tombo. When they said, oh, we want to go fishing, they were killed, right? People in Lonsar, Mile 91. This is all from the northern part of Sierra Leone. The same things that has happened in the northern part of Sierra Leone, when you contrast that and compare, the same events has occurred in the southeast. They've protested as well. Predominantly, the southeast is where the government of the day today, that is where the people are from. Majority of the people from the southeast vote for the SLPP, right? And the predominant tribe in the southeast is the Mendes, right? And of course, the northwestern part is where you find a lot more, you know, of other ethnic groups, you know, the Thimnes, the Limbas, the Locos, the Sosos, the Maringos, you know, all of these folks, right? So that is what we have to look at. So people are looking at, oh, when folks, citizens, Sierra Leoneans in the northern part of Sierra Leone protest, they get killed. But when our brothers in the southeastern part of the country, predominantly belonging to the SLPP party, vote SLPP, this current government in power, the Sierra Leone People's Party, they don't get killed. They don't get harassed. They are pampered. They're given pacifiers. But any other part of the country, the moment they protest, they say, these ones don't want us to be in power. They are the opposition. Let's destroy them. Let's kill them. And that is what we've seen for 5 years. So I want the international partners to know that, again, going back to what happened in Rwanda, this thing is building up in Sierra Leone gradually. With the advent of social media, people can just disseminate their information and it goes like wildfire. That is the danger. Picture what happened in Rwanda. It was slow and steady until they had the radio in Rwanda that was calling Tutsis cockroaches. And today we have certain radios in Sierra Leone that are pro-government, and we hear their language, we hear the way they speak, we hear the kinds of messages they are pushing out, and it's very dangerous. Folks on social media are doing the same things, speaking about tribalism, talking about dividing the country, the government's actions, the appointments. We've seen the firing and sacking of citizens. You got to.
Bori. See, make a collector for her. No. Maso Kabara. Maso. Sarah Kodema. What's your code? Yes. This have to receive me letter now from the HR. This is my letter of termination of contract. SSL. Alpha Somali Kote. Alpha Somali Kote. Edward Bangura. Edward Bangura. Termination. Mohamed Kago. Mohamed Kago. This is termination of service. Aziz Abalu Bangura. Suleiman Sisse. Suleiman Sisse. Last time I come on. Excuse me. I said,
government offices today, people are even saying sometimes some jobs, if you don't speak the ethnic group, you don't speak the ethnic language of Mende, you will not be accepted into the job. Folks are even saying, pay a visit to UE building. Most of these government offices, all you would hear is these guys speaking their ethnicity, their tribe. So these are all things that should be investigated, looked into, questioned. Again, when you fall down, don't pay attention to where you fell. Watch what caused the fall. That is where Sierra Leone is today. And that is what I'm calling on the international partners to pay attention to. Because it's easy to come out and condemn tribalism. I can come out now and condemn that. I've been condemning it for a long time. I've been calling on governments. I've been calling on parliament. I've been calling for investigations. Been calling for ethnic audits. We have been doing it. Myself, Cashbox, and Comrade Koita. We've been calling for an ethnic audit. We said parliament investigate. Citizens are losing their jobs. They're complaining that they got fired for no reason. Nobody knows why they got fired. But when you check, their last names are from the northern part of the country, northwestern part of the country. We've seen the massive migration of folks from the southeastern part of the country to dominate the western part of Sierra Leone, taking land away from the indigents in that country. We've seen all of these. Again, Sierra Leone belongs to everybody. Section 16 talks about free movement of every Sierra Leonean, which means everybody should have the rights to leave wherever they want to leave, to stay wherever they want to stay. But of course, it's different when it's purposeful. when it's all done politically motivated, you know, so that you can bring your people into the capital city so that when you vote, they can have enough votes. So they rather take the land away from the indigents, the Creole people, and all of that. You go across the peninsula today, they've taken up all the lands beyond the preserves, even areas that were reserved for conservation. They've taken up all of those lands. They are bringing people from the southeastern part of the country to occupy these spaces. So we ask ourselves the question, the actions of the government should be revisited. We don't want tribal conflict in our nation. We've seen the effects of tribalism. And there is no way one tribe could dominate the rest of the other tribes. So these are the facts. We all have to come to the table as Sierra Leoneans and speak some facts. Let us tell ourselves the truth. But Sierra Leoneans, a lot of them, they sit down quietly. They don't speak up. And even President Bio would tell you that the problem he had with Sierra Leoneans, there's a video to that effect. You know, the video is out there.
I don't care if the Gambia is any side in the world, but give your support. Make your own contribution. Speak out. Not be a silent witness to what will happen. Because what will happen will be end up with a 1992 situation that because Salomon they will keep quiet. The APC don't take moves towards an eventual one-party system. They're not going to legislate them, they're not going to announce them.
When he was saying Sierra Leoneans are always quiet, Sierra Leoneans don't speak up. Therefore, I want to take this opportunity to remind you all, President Bio has been challenging you guys to speak up. Every one of you. Yes, speak up. When you see something going wrong, speak up. Sometimes all it takes is for somebody to speak up. Like I'm sounding the alarm now. I'm telling the international partners again, the State Department, we don't want, you know, after the facts actions. We want proactive steps to be taken to stop this. You know, the June 24th, 2023 elections was an opportunity for Sierra Leoneans to put an end to the madness. They came out, they voted in droves, but their votes were stolen. And what do we have? We have a communique, a dialogue to show the outcomes of the June 24th, 2023 elections. The elections has been disputed by every international organization. To this day, we don't have the actual results of the June 24th elections. These are all underlying issues. The votes of the people were stolen. So when I hear all this call about tribalism, you know, eradication of a particular ethnic group, yes, I want to be just as quick as everybody else to condemn tribalism, but at the same time, I'm going to ask myself and ask you as a Sierra Leonean, let us reflect today. Why is it that certain people are treated very differently than others in the same Sierra Leone? We have to ask ourselves these fundamental questions, guys, if we are to get to the bottom of what is actually happening in Sierra Leone today. And like I was saying, let's go back. Albert Magai, who was the architect, the pioneer of the one-party state system, who wrote the very terrible constitution that still this SLPP government is still using today, the 1965 Public Order Act. Very dangerous law that was put into place. We hear the SLPP currently, they've been working on trying to get rid of the libel laws. I think they got rid of section 3 or 4 or 5. I've forgotten what it is, but they try to get rid of some of the sections. But they're still using that 1965 Public Order Act, which violates the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone. Because any law, the newest one, supersedes the oldest. So the 1965, Public Order Act should not be even mentioned anymore in Sierra Leone, but they're still mentioning that because they want to use it to go against, people that they think are not supporting them. So I just want to call the attention of the international partners. We saw what happened in Rwanda. We saw how, the Hutus, took their time, forming up militia groups within their communities in Rwanda, harming themselves until that day, April, when they decided to get up and say, you know what, today's the day. Let's just go out and butcher these people. Sierra Leone is hanging on that precipice as well. Sierra Leone is hanging on that. We are listening to the rhetoric on social media. The rhetoric is very clear. It's like we're heading for a tribal carnage, and it should not happen. We want to stop it now and prevent it now. And how do we do that? Is by making sure that we get down to the bottom of the problems that we have in Sierra Leone. We don't want to have another Rwanda under no circumstances. There is no way one tribe could, dominate 16 other ethnic groups in any nation. And there is no way why all 16 other ethnic groups should go against one tribe. But at the end of the day, let the government check itself. Let us look at the appointments. Let us look at the intimidation that is currently going on. They're not intimidating people in the southeastern part of the country. They're not being harassed, killed silently. But what we have in Sierra Leone today is a silent extermination of Northwesterners. We see it. People are getting arrested. They are disappearing. They're getting killed. It should not happen. We have to stop it. Everybody should come to the table and say this is wrong. I know we've done away with the death penalty. That's what President Bio touts. He says Sierra Leone does not have the death penalty anymore. However, is it that now the silence killing has taken place for the death, has replaced the death penalty? Kill them silently since we don't have the death penalty? Is that what is actually happening? So these are fundamental questions that needs to be asked. And therefore we're calling on every Sierra Leonean. I'm asking the international partners to investigate these claims. Let us stop, acting later on. Because I ask myself the questions every time. How did Rwanda sit by for 4 months? Nobody could stop these guys except when, the president of Rwanda came out, today, Paul Kagame, and the soldiers came through and saved the people of, Rwanda. For 4 months, nobody could stop these guys from massacring and killing their own brothers and sisters for 4 months. We don't want that to happen in Sierra Leone. So we're asking the government, the Peace Commission, or whatever their names is, the imams, the pastors, you all have a responsibility. But you cannot evade the fact that you have to ask the tough questions to the government of the day. You cannot evade the fact. Why? You cannot have peace in Sierra Leone today if you cannot address the killings at Makeni. You cannot have peace in Sierra Leone today if you cannot address the Paremba Road prison massacre. You cannot have peace in Sierra Leone today if you're not going to address what happened at Mile 91, the killing of innocent young guys. Tombo, the same thing. Lonsar. There is no way you can have peace if those issues are not addressed. They have to be addressed. Because justice denied is never going to move a nation forward. We have to address these issues, face them head on, and move forward for us to have a prosperous and a beautiful Sierra Leone. So yes, I join you all in condemning any tribal conflict in the nation. But at the same time, condemning is one. What about if this action continues from the government and the people, continue to see that, yes, it is true. These guys are only coming after us. They're not going after their own people. They're not going after their own tribesmen. They're only coming after us from the other parts of the country because they see us as enemies. And after a while, these thoughts can take hold in the hearts and minds of people. And that is where Sierra Leone is heading today. But because we have a lot of hypocrites, people don't want to face these facts. And a lot of our leaders, they've stayed silent about these facts. They see it, they know, but they will not speak up because everybody is afraid to speak up. And one thing I know, like President Bio, back then when he was vying for office, he made it very clear. He said, Saloma not a talk. He said the same thing that happened back that caused the 1992 situation is because Sierra Leoneans don't speak up. Basically, he was saying that Sierra Leoneans for 24 years did not speak up when President Shaka Stevens stayed in power for that long. when Albert Magai came with affirmative action, tribalization and nepotism came into being. So President Bio was warning and calling every Sierra Leonean to say, speak up. We all have to speak up. There have been intermarriages in the country. My mother is a Shabro. My mother is from the southeast. She's from Banff. So you see, we're all brothers and sisters. Sierra Leoneans have never been this conscious about tribe until or since 2018. Because there's this seething hunger that this government came with. We saw the GTT report that was done by Professor David Francis. I know some of you guys will say, Brian, don't call him professor. A man who studied peace and conflict management. But he was the one who wrote the GTT report, and he mentioned people's names and tribes in that report. We understand these things. Can you imagine that? A PhD holder did a report where he mentioned people's names and tribes and region in the GTT report. That was where the division started. And therefore, it's very crucial for the international partners to pay attention to these things. Because it's like it's been this seething hunger. These guys have planned. That is what people are saying. Sierra Leoneans are saying, this current SLPP government, they've planned this level of tribal division in the nation. To where if you're not with us, you're against us mentality. That is what is going on. It is either you're with us or you're an enemy to us. And that is not democracy. Democracy is the power of the people, for the people, and by the people. So I'm calling the international partners to pay attention to these points. The GTT reports, governance transition, transcript or whatever that was, the GTT, the government transition report. That was the first report that they came out with that set the tone for the tribal division that we have in Sierra Leone today. I want you guys go and look at it. Ambassador Hunt, if you've not seen the GTT reports, go and look at the GTT report. It was re-edited later on, but there's two versions on Google. Look it up, you'll see it. The original version is still there, where the names and tribes of former government officials were mentioned. I'm not making these things up. Ambassador Mula, Miss Lizzie Chesney, read the GTT report. It is there. Like I said, there's two versions of that. That was where the tribal seed was sown in Sierra Leone. So let us check. Let's see. When we fall down, just don't look where you fell. Check to see what caused you to fall. And what you can do is, if it's a stump, if it's a stone, whatever that was in the way that caused you to fall, you would take it away from there, so that whoever comes behind you will not trip and fall on the same obstacle that got you to trip and fall in the first place. I hope you guys are understanding this. Some people like, why they say trip? Now you for them. When say you for them, watch you say you buck your foot. That's also you go for them. Watch what he make you for them. Then you go know how to solve the problem. That is what I'm saying here. And this is why I want to talk to the international partners. Until we get down to the bottom, when you look at the social media space, with the heavy rhetoric that is going on today about dividing the country or going after Southeasterners or going after these ethnic groups and going after this and that, it has been something that has been making for a very long time. We have to get to the bottom of these problems. We have to know why. And for us to know why, we have to know how. How did we get here? And then we would know why. We have to solve those problems. The harassment of opposition continues. We hear that if you are in Sierra Leone right now, we've heard stories of folks saying that, their phones have been confiscated from them. And if they have certain WhatsApp groups with belonging to the APC political party or, other messages from certain people, they say their phones are confiscated and sometimes they are arrested and taken to undisclosed places. Some people are tortured. Some are killed. But all of these should be investigated. It should be investigated. So again, I want to talk to the international partners. What is happening in Sierra Leone should be stopped right now. Sierra Leoneans are still asking for a result. Sierra Leoneans are still asking for the actual disaggregated data from the June 24th, 2023 elections. There's a lot of seething anger in Sierra Leone. There's a lot of seething anger. We don't want a repeat of Rwanda. We've already been through a brutal rebel war. Therefore, that is why you have voices like myself, voices of reasoning. We're not taking sides here. This is about Sierra Leone. This is about our country. If you are SLPP, you're listening to this message, listen with an open heart. Listen with an open mind. And say, yes, I agree. Let's go back and check to see where we fell. What caused us to fall? That should be the mentality. That should be how we think moving forward. Don't run to conclusion. Don't put your loyalty for your political party over this message. Listen to it and say, yes, let's find out. Don't say, oh, these people were killed in McKinney because they challenged the government. Don't say that. The same thing could have been done in Kailahun, in Bo, when your brothers and sisters protested. But they were not killed. So don't come to the conclusion, oh, hey, they're challenging government. They don't want us to govern. That is the lazy excuse. This is some of the lazy excuse you guys give. Oh, they're not allowing the government for the government to do its job. They're not allowing us to do a job. Let's stop making this lazy excuse. Allow others to speak up. It's a democracy. It's not an authoritarian system. We don't have a totalitarian system. We did not take an oath to kings and queens. No, our oath is to the Constitution. Respect the will of the people. Section 5, subsection 2 says sovereignty belongs to the people of Sierra Leone. And through this Constitution, the government derives its legitimacy, its authority, and its power from the people. So whilst we're screaming and condemning any form of tribalism, and I want to join you all, but at the same time, let us get to the bottom of what's causing people to think the way they are. Why do Sierra Leoneans feel like they are segregated against? Why do Sierra Leoneans feel like, oh, if I don't belong to this political party, I'm not going to have a job. If I don't belong to this political party, I will be killed. If I don't belong to this political party, I'll be ostracized. If I don't belong to this political party, my phone would be taken. If I don't belong to this political party, my land would be grabbed away from me. Why am I being intimidated? Is it because I don't belong to this political party, the SLPP? So we have to ask these fundamental questions. Until we do that and be honest with ourselves as Sierra Leoneans, we're not going anywhere as a nation. This is going to be a continuation, and it's only going to keep getting worse. And I can only imagine what it would be like when government changes hands. I can only imagine the level of frustration and anger that people have against folks that they deem or see to be supporting this government. I can only imagine the hate in that nation at this particular point in time. The justice system is not working for every Sierra Leonean. It is not equitable and fair. I can only imagine Sierra Leone is on a keg. It's on the keg that is only waiting to explode. I'm calling on everybody, every stakeholder. Let's condemn any act or form of tribalism. But at the same time, let's bring the governments to the table. Let's go check the institutions. Check the ministries, departments, and agencies. See who's in charge. Where are they from? What tribes are they? That is how we can get to the bottom of this. Where are the jobs? Families are getting divided today. Fathers cannot take care of their households. Mothers cannot take care of their households. There is a rampant rate of prostitution across the country. Young girls as young as 14, 15 are prostitutes in Sierra Leone today, because their fathers or their mothers were fired from jobs because their last names does not reflect the government in power? These are the questions, and these are the things we have to focus on. I'm calling on the international partners again. People are thinking, and people are beginning to believe, and it's beginning to take hold in the hearts and minds of Sierra Leoneans that this SLPP, translation, the SLPP is predominantly from the southeast, and the southeast is predominantly of the Mende tribe. People are beginning to believe that even though we have decent Southeasterners or folks from the Mende ethnic group, well, people are beginning to believe the majority of these folks from the southeastern part of Sierra Leone belonging to the Mende ethnic group, people are beginning to believe that they are the problems in Sierra Leone. And I know that is not the case, because we cannot paint everybody with a white brush. Just because few are bad eggs should not reflect on everybody else. The actions of few, they're not even up to 50, should not reflect on the rest of the Southeasterners or the Mende people. That is what we know. But at the end of the day, we all have a responsibility to speak up and condemn governments when they are oppressing, and when it gives a semblance or perception of that the only people that are being oppressed are the ones that are from the opposition stronghold. People begin to harbor hate. That is what they've been harboring, hate. And now social media is rife and is ripe today with messages of tribalism, messages of dividing Sierra Leone, messages of exterminating an ethnic group. We are saying, we are calling on every Sierra Leonean to speak up now and stop this carnage. Speak up now and stop this. Not just condemning the actions of those that are calling for these kinds of ethnic cleansing or whatever that is, but let's call the government's attention as well, so that they can pay attention. Give justice where it's due. Make sure that government jobs are not just for people from a certain region or from a certain tribe. Let everybody have a fair share to the opportunities that Sierra Leone have to offer. We've been saying this. We don't want Rwanda to be a joke. We don't want Rwanda to look like a walk in the park. Because what is happening in Sierra Leone today, nobody should lie to ourselves. Our country is very sharply divided. You'd have people that would run quickly come, oh, you guys are the ones dividing our country. You got it. They are never in a position to check themselves. Let's check on ourselves. Nobody is perfect. I am not perfect. You're not perfect. We all have our flaws. So let's check our flaws. Let us see where we're going wrong. Accept dialogue and debate. I'm not talking about the dialogue and communicate for our elections. That's not what I'm talking about. No, we don't need elections to have dialogues and communiques. I'm talking about having healthy conversations. When people come and cry out about the problems that they have, we say, give us justice for the killings at McKinney. Give us justice for the Parebaro prison massacre. Give us justice for Tombo killing. Give us justice for Lonsar killing. Give us justice for the killings at Mile 91. Give the people justice. Bring the perpetrators to book. But you're not doing that. But yet you're crying that, oh, they're preaching tribalism. How do we solve the problem of tribalism when you keep attacking the same people from the same region and from one ethnic group predominantly? And that is, when you look at what is happening today, the Northwesterners has taken the brunt of the heat of the SLPP. And the SLPP has never gone after their own people from the Southeast. That is very, very divisive. The perception, again, remember, don't let your people perceive your actions to be anything but tribalism in a nation. Africa is suffering as it is already. Sierra Leone is not an exception. Let us fix our country for a better nation. So to the international partners, the State Department, Ambassador Hunt, Ms. Lisa Chesney, and Mr. Muller, the European Union, and everybody else, I just want you to listen to this attentively, and let's go back and justify and see why we need to come now and stop this. Everybody needs to get all hands on deck, give justice where it's due, Let's call the spade a spade, and let the governments try to ensure that the governance system is equitable for everybody. Give everybody a fair share. Take care of your citizens. If they protest in the north, respect their protest. If they protest in the southeast, respect their protest. Regardless of where they protest, regardless of who speaks out, regardless of their political party affiliations, we are all Sierra Leoneans, and give every Sierra Leonean the right to participate in their democracy. Don't hold them to ransom. You can only push the people to the wall so much before they bounce back. I wish everybody well. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.